Hi there, welcome back. I'm Colin, one of the drama tutors for South Lanarkshire Leisure and Culture, and today I bring you episode 5. Can you believe it? Episode 5 already of our introduction to children's drama. Why are we doing these lessons online? Well, previously up until last March, me and my colleagues were working in our venues, bringing you drama classes from ages 5 up to all the age of 12, but unfortunately we're unable to do that at the moment. So we've decided to come online and hopefully share some of our knowledge with you, and anybody who's hoping to get into drama after all this is over has a wee introduction and will be able to come to our classes not feeling uptight or nervous or anything like that. You'll have a good knowledge to start with and you'll be made more than welcome. Today's lesson is going to move on from what we've covered already, and we're going to really focus on our imaginations today, okay? Young people have amazing imaginations. When you get to my age and above, you start to lose your imagination a wee bit, but you have a top-notch imagination, so we want to harness that today and use it within our drama, okay? Remember, these are all skills. Everything that you learn in your drama workshops are skills that you can use to develop yourself in other situations, whether it be at school, in another hobby, or other activities that you take part in. These are all skills that help build and grow your confidence that you can use in other places and hopefully throughout your life. So, as always, we start with our physical warm-up. Now today, just some simple stretching of your muscles, your legs, your arms, neck. Remember everything that we've already covered before. And moving on, slightly different physical warm-up for you today. What I want you to do is I want you to find a space, wherever you are, and I want you to start walking round. Okay, so whether you're in your living room, your bedroom, wherever you are, find a space and start moving around. Make sure you've got plenty of room, not bumping into anything. And whatever I say, whatever example I'm going to give you, I want you to change the way that you walk and to change the way that you move to react to that, okay? So, and that will be changing your way you physically move. It could be changing your expression. It could be changing if you want to put in some dialogue or some speech. Change that as well. I'm just going to go through several examples with you. The first one I want you to do, so I want you to change your movement to reflect someone who's running late. Okay, so imagine all of a sudden you realise you're late for something. You're going somewhere and you're absolutely 30 minutes late and you want to get there as quickly as possible. So how do you change? The way you walk change? The way you move change? Does your manner change? Your emotions change? Think about all these things. So start moving around your room in that way as if you're late, trying to get somewhere. Okay? Once you've exhausted that, what I want you to do is I want you to move around the room as if you were a figure skater. Okay? So you're an ice skater. How would that move? How would your movement change again? Completely different. Think about how they move. They're graceful, they flow along the ice. Imagine that you're ice skating, okay? And then shake that up, and now you're going to be a footballer, okay? How do footballers move? A lot of times they run. Sometimes they even walk backwards if they get into position. They move around, okay? So think about that. How do they move? Now, once you've exhausted that, I want you to imagine that you are an elderly person, okay? Now think about elderly people. How do they move? Sometimes due to their age or other conditions, they move slightly differently, okay? They maybe don't move as quickly. They maybe are a bit slower in the way they move. They maybe don't move as quickly, and they maybe walk slightly differently. Think about if you were an old person, okay? How would you move about? How would it be different compared to how you bounce about as a young person, okay? Now, this next one is a bit weird, okay? I want you to move around the room as if you were a worm. Okay? Yes, a worm. So, how do worms move about? They wiggle. All right. So, move around your room. Make sure you don't bump into anything being a worm. And once you get fed up doing that, I want you to finish off by being a lion. Okay? How do lions move about? They're the king of the jungle. They're quite proud. But yes, they walk on all fours. How do they move? They make noises. They roar, obviously. They shake their head and their mane about. So think about all these things and portray it in how you're moving about, okay? That's our physical warm-up. Now, some quick vocal warm-up for you. Remember the types of things that we've done before. We've done our buzz and bees, so your bzzz, maybe do some of them. We've done our hums. Think about our siren, yeah? So the top of your voice, your siren, all opens up your vocal cords, all right? And we've done our chewy toffees and our sour lemons. Pick a mixture of them, okay? And go back and do them again and work through it. Next, it's time for our weekly tongue twister, okay? Now, this one's not a long one, but it is quite difficult. There's a lot of very similar sounding words. There's a lot of threes and free in it, okay? And with any other tongue twister that we've done, take it slow. If you need to write it down and read it to begin with, like I do, that's fine. Practice it, get it slowly, and then up the speed, up the tempo, to as quickly as you can. That moves your mouth quicker, okay, so you get the words out quicker. Sometimes you get a bit muddled up, that's fine, don't worry about it. It's about building up the muscle memory in your mouth and your brain and getting through it, okay? So today's tongue twister. Through 3 cheese trees, 3 free fleas flew. While these fleas flew, a freezy breeze blew. The freezy breeze made the 3 trees cheese freeze. That's what these 3 free fleas sneeze. Okay? Now, try that again. Through 3 cheese trees, 3 free fleas flew. While these fleas flew, a freezy breeze blew. The freezy breeze made the 3 trees cheese freeze. That's what made these 3 free fleas sneeze. So there's a difference there between 3, okay, and free as in F-R-E-E, okay, as being free, okay? So sound the same, but spelt differently, depending on your tone and the way you speak, your colloquialism, it might sound very similar. West of Scotland, free and 3, we tend to say in a very similar way because we say TH as F, okay? So just practice that, work your way through it. Go back and check out any of the other tongue twisters we have. I hope you're getting really good at them. Keep practicing them, keep getting them quicker, keep going through them, okay? It's about building the muscle memory. Now, today's characterization. So this is where we take a well-known phrase or an expression and we put different emotions to it, okay? So today's phrase is, you make me laugh, okay? So, you make me laugh. First of all, I want you to say it in a happy way. So practice it. How would you say you make me laugh in a happy way? Okay? How would you predict it? How would you tone? How would your face react to it? Would you be smiling? Would you be frowning? How would you present yourself, okay? Work through that. And then the next time, I want you to say it in a disgusted way. Okay, so you make me laugh, a disgusted way. So how would that change things? How would things be different, okay? Now, making sure that it is different enough that there's noticeable difference between the last time you said it in a happy way and this in a disgusted way. The ways we can do that, as we previously talked about, is through using a mirror and watching yourself as you say it. Look how your mouth moves, look how your expressions change. Another way you can do it is by using some form of device, whether it's a tablet, mobile phone, anything you want. Flip it so that you can see yourself, see your reflection. And again, that shows you exactly the same as you would in a mirror. Also lets you record it, and that way you can watch it back. So you can see how you grow, how you change each time that you do it, okay? You've got a record to go back and critique yourself later, okay? So you've done happy, you've done disgusted. Now I want you make me laugh in an annoyed way, okay? So you're really, really annoyed, you're really fed up, okay? How would you say it in that way? What would change? And finally, you make me laugh in a bored way. You're bored. You can't be bothered. How would you say it? Would it be kind of more of a thrown away line? Who knows? And that's us. So we've done our physical warm-up and our vocal warm-up. Now on to our first activity for the day. And this one is called This Is A, okay? Now this is a really straightforward one. You will need a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, some form of writing implement. So grab them quickly and I'll talk you through what I want you to do. So I want you to walk around your room or your house and I want you to pick up 4 different items, completely different things. It can be anything. I'm not saying one thing has to be something. It can be 4 of anything that you can find lying about, okay? And keep them handy. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take your piece of paper and I want you to put it into quarters, okay? So line down the middle, line halfway, so you get 4 boxes. And what I want you to do is in each box, write the name of an item. So if I had, say, a hairbrush, I know it's funny, a hairbrush, car keys, a pen, and a Kit Kat biscuit, right? I would take each of the boxes and in one I would write hairbrush, and then I would write car keys, and in the bottom box I would write the third thing, and then I would write Kit Kat. So I would have 4 boxes and 1 item in each box, okay? Now, what I want you to do is we've noted what the items are. I want you to use your imagination and think about what the items could be, right? So let's take one of them, for example. So your hairbrush. So let's take that. Now, yes, it's a hairbrush, but what else could it be? Using my imagination, what else could it be? It could be a microphone. I could be a famous singer, and it could be a microphone that could be used on stage. So that's one thing. So I would note that in the box with my hairbrush. So I've got hairbrush and microphone. What else could it be? Now, really think about it. So it could be the key that accesses an ancient cave where there's lots of buried treasure built or buried, okay? So that's a third thing. So write that down. So we've got in our box, we've got hairbrush, microphone, key to ancient cave full of buried treasure, right? And last thing, what else could it be? It could be my magic wand for going to Hogwarts, okay? And I beat Voldemort with it. There we go. So 4 things for my one item, okay? Now, I want you to repeat that process for each item, okay? So that's why it's good to have 4 completely different type of items so that you can come up with up to 16 different uses, okay? So 4 uses for each item, one of which is its initial use, and then 3 others that can be completely out of nowhere. Use your imagination to come up with as many creative things as you can. All right? Now, once you've finished that activity, I want you to pick your best one. Okay, so pick your best item out of all the 16 you've come up with, and I want you to put it into a scene. Okay? Now, you can either act that out yourself, or you can make a note of it and think about a plot, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Remember, we've talked about that before. And just make a note of this story, okay? So write it down. Think about characters that would be in it. Think about what would happen. Remember, we like things to make sense, all right? So think about a constructive story around this new item that you've come up with, okay? If you want to repeat that process with more than 4 items, by all means, give it a go and see what you can do. Now, moving on. I have some props here for the first time today, okay? What I want to do is I want you to go through these and then we're going to have a wee conversation. Now, this first one, Little Red Riding Hood. Everybody knows this story, okay? So, I'm not going to read it verbatim, okay, word for word. Let's just have a quick glance through it, okay? So, Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood. Little girl, red coat with hood. Decides one day she's going to go and see her grandmother. Yes, we know that there's also a big bad wolf hiding in the forest that plans to eat Red Riding Hood. But as she's on her way to her grandmother's, he comes up with the great idea of, rather than jumping out and eating her, he makes her way before she does, runs off to her grandmother's house, gets in, scares grandma away under the bed, okay, and proceeds to dress up in grandmother's clothes, okay? So we see him here. So he's now lying in grandmother's bed with her nightgown and neckerchief or handkerchief in there, and he's waiting for Little Red Riding Hood to come along. Little Red Riding Hood comes along to visit grandma, doesn't suspect anything, but when she arrives, she starts to get a bit suspicious of her grandmother in bed, okay? So starts to question him about the size of his teeth, about his big eyes, about his big nose, his long nose, and Big Bad Wolf decides, I've had enough, and he tries to eat Little Red Riding Hood, okay? Grandma tries to help, but is unable to, and it's left up to a nearby lumberjack to come out the way and scare away the big bad wolf and save both Little Red Riding Hood and Grandma. Okay, then this one finishes, they all have a nice cup of tea, and the end. Okay, we all know the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Pretty simple, that's why I picked that one. But what I want to do now is I'm going to read you something slightly different, okay? Now remember the story that we had there? Now listen to this one. This one is called Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. As soon as Wolf began to feel that he would like a decent meal, he went and knocked on Grandma's door. When Grandma opened it, she saw the sharp white teeth and the horrid grin, and the Wolfie said, "May I come in?" Poor Grandma was terrified. "He's going to eat you up," she cried. And she was absolutely right. He ate her up in one big bite. But Grandmama was small and tough, and Wolfie wailed, "That's not enough. I haven't yet begun to feel that I would have a decent meal." He ran around the kitchen yelping, "I've got to have another helping." Then added with a frightful leer, "I'm therefore going to wait right here till little Miss Red Riding Hood comes home from walking in the wood." He quickly put on Grandma's clothes, and of course he hadn't eaten those. He dressed himself up in a coat and hat, put on shoes, and after that he even brushed and curled his hair, then sat himself in Grandma's chair. In came the little girl in red. She stopped, she stared, and then she said, "What great big ears you have, Grandma." "All the better to hear you with," the wolf replied. "What great big eyes you have, Grandma," said Little Red Riding Hood. "All the better to see you with," the wolf replied. He sat there watching her and smiled. He thought, "I'm going to eat this child. Compared with her old grandmama, she's going to taste like caviar." Then Little Red Riding Hood said, "But Grandma, what a lovely great big furry coat you have on." "Well, that's wrong," cried the wolf. "Have you forgot to tell me what great big teeth I've got?" "Ah, well, no matter what you say, I'm going to eat you anyway." All right, so that was Roald Dahl's version of Little Red Riding Hood. And as you'll notice, it was a little bit different. So, that's what I want you to do for your final task today. I want you to come up with a story that you know, okay? So, I did Little Red Riding Hood, so you could keep it something simple like Three Little Pigs, or Rumpelstiltskin, or Emperor's New Clothes. Take a story that you know, okay? You know pretty well, everybody knows. Now I want you to put a new slant on it, okay? Use your imagination, be as creative as you can. And like we did in the last exercise, I want you to write down your new story, okay? Beginning, middle, and an end. What characteristics of the story do you need to keep, okay? So in that example there, you still had all the same characters. You had Little Red Riding Hood, the Big Bad Wolf, and Grandma. Okay, you didn't have the lumberjack, but he wasn't necessary. And we had the basic context or premise of the story was the same, but it was conveyed and portrayed slightly different. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to take a well-known story and I want you to rewrite it in a new way. You put your own thoughts and ideas into it, okay? Now, once you've got your story, what I want you to do, think about all your characters, think about how the characters act, and I want you, if possible, to perform some of your new story, okay? Whether that's on your own, pick a character or a scene and act it out yourself, or if you're working with peers or relatives or somebody else, friends, act out your story and make it into a small scene, okay? So, that was your last task for today. What we've covered today is using our imagination. We've started looking out the box, thinking about how characters change and how we can change stories, we can enhance them, we can enrich them by putting in our own slants on stuff, okay? I hope you've enjoyed this episode. That was episode 5. Next week is the last episode, that's episode 6. So by that we'll round off everything we've already done. And I think in week 1 I promised you a quiz. So we'll deal with that as well. And until then though, stay safe, look after yourselves, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much.